Arg, mateys, it's Slasher Sunday. Why am I talking like this? Because I've been playing a game called Sea of Thieves way too damn much. Hence why I haven't been posting much lately. My brother and I are fucking obsessed. Anybody with an Xbox One that's playing that game right now, you want to team up with us? Okay, so that's where I've been. Now, let's get into this movie. Welcome to Spring Break, aka Nightmare Beach. As you can see up here, I have a Nightmare Beach. You can see it up there. A Nightmare Beach poster, because this is a fave slasher of mine. If it's up on the wall, that means something. So anyway, I'm in a goofy mood. We just took down this freaking island with another, doesn't matter. You guys don't give a shit, but we were pretty proud of it. So yeah, anyway, let's talk about this. Now, this is not a typical slasher. This was directed by Umberto Lenzi, and it stars John Saxon, which he's in fucking everything. Oh my good God. And Michael Parks, which you don't see a lot of Michael Parks, and he just recently died. But what separates this one for me is that the killer is just very unique, and we don't get a stabbing weapon of any sort, like a knife or a machete or a fingered glove, a knifed finger glove, whatever the fuck you want to call it, razor knives on the fingers. We get electrocution. That is how he kills almost everyone, except for he kills some people with fire, but his main weapon of choice is electrocution. So that's different, and so the premise, I'm going to get into spoilers obviously, but the premise of this film, for people who just want to check it out before I even talk about it, is a leader of a biker gang is being put to death in the electric chair, and he swears he's been framed, and that he's going to come back for them, and John Saxon is the police chief or whatever, and he's there watching the execution, as is this girl whose sister was killed, and why he's on death row and being put to death. And they kill him, and then spring break is out and everyone's partying, and there is gratuitous fucking nudity in this movie. So yeah, there's one reason I love it. But it's set on spring break at the beach, and everyone's just having a blast. Everyone's drinking and getting crazy, and this guy's riding around on his motorcycle that he has like retrofitted with this freaking like electrical shock system on the back of the motorcycle, and he's giving people like the hitchhikers rides, and he's electrocuting the shit out of them as they're riding on the back of his bike, and awesome stuff. Okay, awesome stuff. So let's get into the movie. All right, spoiler discussion time. Now, like usual, actually, before I get into that, the opening with the execution is actually pretty realistic for the most part. I mean, it isn't overly theatrical, like especially when they're like electrocuting him. They just turn it on and he's just like there's no like, and he's like and there's like smoke and he's screaming and everyone, like nothing like that. It's very subtle. Though they cover him up, he says his last words. Everyone in there, like no one in there is like screaming or doing anything. They're just all just kind of sitting there. It's very like uneventful. And then he's dead, and they go and they check, and then it just cuts right to a pop song, because I always talk about this, how there's just random pop songs that open these. But I really like this pop song. It's fun. And another movie that's kind of ish like this, if you want to check it out, if you're into like biker horror movies, is a movie called Psychomania, which is a really cool movie as well. It was kind of reminding me of it a little bit while I was watching it. And we get two of our main characters here, which is the football star who had a bad game and is down on his life because he lost the Orange Bowl, I think is what it is, and his roommate, who's a wide receiver, and his roommate pretty much embodies everything about men that I despise. Like, I went out to the bar a lot in my life. I had a very wild youth, and there would be douchebags at the bar who just thought they were God's gift to everyone and could talk to women however the fuck they wanted and go up to slap their asses and offer themselves to them. And if any girl like didn't talk to them, they were a lesbian or a bitch or whew, I fucking hate guys like that. And this guy is that guy to the nth degree. And you're just like, oh, God. So when he gets his ass kicked in this movie and then ends up getting killed, there is no love lost here on my end. I was kind of like, mwah, bye-bye. Adios, fuckface. He had some funny moments for sure. I like how he throws his buddy like 20 condoms and he's like, you better have all these used by the end of the weekend. Otherwise, I'm going to tell everyone that you're a bender. I've never heard that one before, but I guess that's a wrist bender, right? So he does this and he calls him a bender. I didn't know that was a derogatory slang towards homosexuals, but you learn something new every slasher. Now, as I said, I love that this guy has a motorcycle that electrocutes the shit out of people. And some of these effects on this are pretty fun. Though my favorite one is the girl who he turns on like the furnace or whatever the hell that thing is, and it shoots a ball of fire out on this girl, and her face is just like, it ends up melting, but before that it's like shaking around and burning, and it looks awesome. And then it just like melts away. That's a really cool scene. And I didn't prepare for this at all. It's like 1:30, 40 in the morning. And I was like, oh shit. I grabbed my notes. I ran out here. I watched this at work earlier today. So usually I kind of like read through my notes. Whatever. I don't care. Let's do this. I love another thing he does. As I said, he's funny at times. Doesn't make him any less of a douchebag, but when they pull up, because there's the other biker gang, there is the biker gang, that Diablo, the guy who was killed, is, they're still out there, and they're starting shit with everybody in town, and they pull up, and there's like a full like 20, 30 biker dudes from this biker gang sitting there, and it's just the two guys, the wide receiver and the quarterback. The quarterback wants nothing to do with it, and the wide receiver is just pushing him around. He's wearing one of those like mesh shirts that you can see through. Wow, the 80s. And he's just like, fuck you guys, and like trying to start, and he's like pushing them around, and all that. He's trying to start a fight with a biker gang, and then when the cop comes and breaks it up and runs away, he's just completely forgets about it and immediately goes in and starts hitting on women like it just didn't even happen. This guy is so fucking full of himself. It was almost cool, except for how he was treating people, especially women. And man, I mean, chicks in this movie, and of course this was written by guys, and it's supposed to be, you know, overly sexual, and women are just objects in these movies. But yeah, the quarterback guy sitting up at the bar, and the girl walks up and she's just like, you're cute, want to go take a walk? Like, I'll treat you really good. Like, wow. Now, I'm not saying I haven't had experiences like that. I sure have. That does happen, but it's so fucking funny to see in a movie. It's just like walks up, and that is the preacher of the movie's daughter. And it goes this way. And as I said, spoiler discussion. I haven't seen this in a while, so it had been a little while. So I actually was kind of like, wait, who's the killer again? I had kind of forgotten. And when it was revealed, because they try to play it out like it's Diablo the whole time, and we get to find out it's the preacher. And I thought that was a great twist. I really liked it, because they didn't even really suggest. They more made it seem like, yes, it's definitely him from back from the dead. And we never really got anything to the contrary until they find his body. And then they're like, wait a minute. And he reveals himself. And it's cool because they set up the promiscuous daughter of the preacher like she's going to be one of the victims. And when she never is, you don't really notice it because you don't know when the end of the movie's coming. But then when it does, you're like, oh, that's why she didn't die. And that's why she's a character. Got it. So I really like that. I really like the reveal a lot. I thought it was cool. And I like the guy who plays the preacher. I thought he did a good job, you know, being the guy who was down on all the kids and really felt like he was doing God's will. Why he had to make it Diablo, maybe it was just as a cover to make people afraid so they would stop their wicked ways. But yeah, I don't know. It was still cool though. And this prostitute in this movie, she just keeps picking up guys, and this girl has no qualms. She has no standards. She takes this guy home. He must be fucking 450 pounds. She just keeps taking him in the room and out, in and out. And it's literally just there to kill her eventually. Like, she has no purpose to the plot line at all. We just keep seeing her as they're like walking down the hallway, taking different guys into the room and and fucking them or sucking them off or whatever, and then getting money for her law school, I think. Or yeah. This girl picks up the nastiest fucking dudes, but she's smart. She goes after the dudes with the good cars and all that. She don't care what they look like. She's got nothing about it. And, hey, those guys are very thankful. The most gratuitous part of this movie for sure is the wet t-shirt contest. T-shirt. These girls get their tits wet under the shirt, and then they just go out there and they just keep lifting up their shirt and showing their tits and then ripping their shirts off and showing it. Like, I've never seen a wet t-shirt contest like this. They usually keep their shirts on. Man, I've been missing the good ones. What the hell? God, it's so gratuitous. It's like 5 straight minutes and they keep going back to it like throughout the movie. And I love when his friend goes missing. It's like the first place he goes. He's like, all right, I gotta go check out where all the douchebags be hanging out, because he knows his friends so well. The whole idea that the cops and everyone want to cover up the murder because they don't want people to run away from spring break. This is very much, the Amity decision from Jaws. Like, we can't let anyone know that there's shark attacks or they won't come here anymore and we'll lose all the business. So we got that going on in this movie. But the fact that they're going to cover up a murder. Like, in the other one, they were just like, no, we can't say it's a shark. We can't, like, they're covering up the cause in Jaws. This one, they're straight up covering up the murder of a young boy. I mean, this guy's a man, technically, but he's like 20 at best. So they're going to cover it up. This kid is not, his parents aren't going to know, his family's not going to know, whoever is not going to know where he ever is, like ever. He's just going to be a missing person forever. The worst thing that could ever happen to you ever as a parent, it's not your kid dying, it's your kid going and missing. And you don't know what happens to them ever. Like years and years and years, and you just wonder. Oh my God. You want to see a fantastic film on that? The Vanishing. There's an original, but I really like the one with Kiefer Sutherland, Sandra Bullock, and Jeff Bridges. Awesome movie. But that just shows you, like, you can't let it go. Now, he doesn't lose a kid in that. He loses, his girlfriend. Or I don't remember if she's his wife or not. I think it's just his girlfriend, but it doesn't matter. Like, that movie really illustrates, like, how, and he has this amazing monologue moment where he talks about, like, whether he would have her be dead and him be able to find out, or her to be happy and alive and him to never know, and that he hates himself, but he would pick for her to be dead because he can't handle it anymore. He has to know. And I completely understand where he's coming from on that. And so when I was watching this cover up in the movie, I'm like, really? You're going to put people through that because you don't want to fucking have a business cut down? But they framed Diablo for a murder as well to cover it up. And so, yeah. These guys are pieces of shit, and you definitely want them to die. But John Saxon comes to a good death. We got some cowboy type Western moments in this movie, and the bikers drag him away and drag him down the road on a bike. That is a fucked up way to die, just to be drugged to death. Whew, that is awful. But he totally deserved it. That was swift justice. And the practical Joker, he is just constantly in the movie breaking jokes out and eventually, gets gets what's coming to him. I mean, boy that cries wolf, right? He pretends he's a shark. He pretends he's a dead body. He pretends, like, fuck this guy. The joke was over a long time ago. Maybe once, dude, but not even once, but Jesus Christ, how many times? And then every single time he's like, God, can't you guys take a joke? And it's like, clearly they can't. Clearly they cannot. How many times? Jesus Christ. And here's something that happens in every one of these movies. I have to point it out because I haven't seen it in a movie where I've got to point it out since I started this channel. I don't think. But just in case you ever kill anybody and you want to stage the body in some curious way to scare people or whatever, doesn't matter. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Dead bodies don't stand up, okay? Dead bodies do not stand up on their own. I mean, I guess if you were to lay them flat and then let rigor mortis set in for a while and then they were like stiff as a board, you could probably prop them up. But after like a couple minutes, bodies don't stand up on their own. Dead. So they need to stop this in movies. He puts the peeping Tom up and he's just standing there. When she comes, she checks on him, he falls over. That's not how it works, people. That's not how it works. As I said, people are starting to worry. I talk about dead bodies like I'm an expert a lot, but I watch a lot of shows. Although I've never tried to stand up a dead body, so I could be wrong, but I'm not. And what else do I got here on this shit? Oh God, there's a scene where they pull up to the house, the quarterback and the bartender girl, who had it with all the bullshit and all the different dumb guys, and her sister was murdered and she ain't having this wide receiver to hit on her or anybody else. And she starts liking the quarterback because he's not interested in anything. He doesn't want to drink. The preacher's daughter comes up and offers her, like straight out just offers herself to him, and he's like, nah, I'm good. So she has a thing for him, and then they get together after his friend goes missing, and they pretty much think he's dead. And her sister was just murdered, and she just watched the guy who killed her put to death, and they're looking for his friend who is still missing when he drops her off at the house. And she's, and then she's like, my sister was just murdered, and your friend's missing, but can we plan a date soon? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, okay. And she literally, she gets all happy and she skips. She fucking full on, second grade, skips to the house and then turns around and is like, that was as feminine as you'll ever see me. That's too good, actually. I could see myself in the camera and I'm ashamed at how female I looked in that moment. Anyway. But yeah, she straight up skips up to the house and just waves. It is so bad. Literally their conversation is like, my sister was just murdered and his friend is missing. Can we go on a date soon? Yeah, okay. And she just skips up. The acting in this movie is horrible. I love this movie, okay? I love how shitty and cheesy this movie is. But my God, the acting in this is horrendous from everybody, especially the lead biker, not Diablo, but the other biker. Ooh, he's bad. Another one of my favorite characters in this movie, might be my one. I don't know who's my favorite, but one of my favorite characters in this movie is this guy who keeps going around and yelling "Go Gators" in front of everybody. He runs, he gets arrested, and he goes, and the biker gang leader gets put in jail, and he just comes up in his face, and he's like, "Go Gators!" This guy has team spirit, okay? Holy shit, is he dedicated. And then later, in addition to that insane skipping scene, then he finds that his friend has been murdered and covered up. And so he goes and he breaks into this girl's house. She comes home. He sneaks up behind her when she has a gun out, which I've talked about this in other videos. And it's like, why? You broke into her house and then you're sneaking up behind her when you can clearly she has a fucking gun out, pointed, cocked, and ready to fucking blow you away. And then he's like, oh, sorry, but I'm running from the cops and I don't know where else to go. And it's like, we just met fucking an hour ago. And you came to my house when you're wanted for murder, running from the cops and shit. No. Okay, he's not wanted for murder, but it seemed like it could be that way. But she's like, I'm running from the cops. And she's just like, okay, that's fine. And he's like, yeah, my friend's dead and the cops are covering it up. And her response is, no shit. Oh no. And then it's just like, they're back to it. Like, oh, well, what are we going to do? And they're just so casual about the fact that his friend was murdered and the police are covering it up. Like, she is just like, literally, as I said, she just goes, oh no. Actually made me laugh out loud when she said it, because I was like, really? That's the response? Okay, I guess. And yeah, I like that we find out that Diablo, the guy in the beginning, was framed. And he wasn't the killer in the end of the movie. So this guy never did anything. I mean, he's probably a piece of shit. He led this biker gang. His girlfriend's nuts. And all of his guys are nuts. So I'm sure he wasn't innocent. He probably deserved what he got. But still, he didn't kill anyone in this movie. He just gets blamed for everything. And the conclusions that these people jump to, like the quarterback and the girl that he's with, he goes and has a suspicion that the coroner's lying to them, the guy that's played by Michael Parks, and he breaks into his car. This guy breaks into whatever the fuck he wants, and pops up and puts a screwdriver to his neck and is like, you better tell me what's going on. Just on a total whim. And it just so happens to be right. And then they go and they grab and kidnap this biker chick who's the leader of the gang, and the girl with him takes her knife and puts it to her throat and is like, you fucking tell me or I'll cut your fucking throat, I'll kill you. And and they do something. And then they go and they break into the police chief's house and they mace his dog. It's just like, these kids are nuts. These kids are out of their fucking minds, dude. Breaking and entering and kidnapping and dog abuse. The worst of them all. Dog was just protecting the house. And then she goes and she's a decoy trying to get to see if anyone will follow her. And he's just parked in a parking lot waiting. And they're talking on these huge walkie-talkies. Way before cell phones, obviously. And why he's not just like following behind her, like far enough back to where someone could come up and follow her, is beyond me. She's just driving around town and he's out on his thing. She's like, I've circled the block. I know she's supposed to stay within a certain radius, but it's like, you knew you could get, like, you parked in a place where you could get trapped in there, and he does, and it's so stupid. But this whole movie is, but I still love it. And then she gets, like, she thinks it's Diablo, and she's like, help, help, help. And it doesn't end up being Diablo, and she's just driving, and she pulls over to the side, and a cop comes up and stops next to her, and she's like, everything's okay, officer. And he's like, okay, okay. And he drives off. What? Why did she even need to talk to him at all? That was completely unnecessary. All she did was pull over to the side of the road. Does a cop pull over and stop next to every person who pulls over that's in front of them and say hi and make sure they're okay? It was so stupid and out of place. I mean, the girl's hot, so maybe he was just like, hey, you need anything? I can do anything you want. But yeah. And then the preacher gets poetic justice. He gets electrocuted to death. So that was to be expected. But yeah, another Umberto Lenzi film I'm a big fan of. Anyway, that's it. Slasher Sunday. I'm trying to work in more time for movies. I've had like half of Frankenhooker watched and like half of Dark Skies watched for Monster Monday, and but these games, man, they're taking all my time, okay? All right, guys, until tomorrow, Monster Monday, as you saw, Dark Skies, because we're doing Alien Week in Killer Flicks. All right, until then.